I think you had a few things about cold calling, right?
Yeah.
I kind of asked you to come share your SOPs or share how you guys
Yeah.
do it. I want to make sure we have time for that. Let's do that.
So with cold calling, again, I've been doing this cold calling specifically for 13 years. I've screwed it up every which way possible. It's been a massive learning process. When I was doing it pre-pandemic time frame and during the pandemic, there weren't so many restrictions. So we were the ones that were blasting the hell out of people, like probably 8,000 properties a day. We were just hammering. I had 12 VAs. I mean, we were probably the reason why they created the laws of the 10 DLC and all the nonsense with text messaging, because we were not very respectful of other people's privacy and stuff. So we learned a lot from that. And through all that, I've created a kind of like a process that we follow, my team follows. It's for consistency. So one of the biggest thing I tell people is have a pre-call ritual. A lot of people don't. You're getting ready to make some calls. All you do is turn on whatever system you're using and start hitting the phones. And then you're surprised when you don't convert and when it goes absolutely nowhere. And that's because like you have no process. You have no reason to be doing the things you're doing. You're just kind of stumbling through, hoping for the best, kind of treating each lead as it comes in, and it's just messy. So what we do is we create a pre-call process. The first one is to not prejudge your leads. I had a acquisition manager at one point that she would come up to me and she's like, "All right, well, time to get rejected again." I was like, "Holy crap." I'm like, if that's your energy, just go home, because like if you're going at it just because you've had some bad luck with some of the calls and you're going at it like, all right, well, let me just force my way through this and let me just, power through. We'll see what happens. Like, just stop. Because like your mind's not going to be in the right space. You're not going to ask the right questions. You're defeating yourself before you even get started. It's the dumbest thing you're going to do. So I strongly recommend that, you just don't prejudge your leads. Change your state. Tony Robbins talks a lot about this. A lot of people talk about it. What I like to do, as you can see here, like I stand up. So if you don't have a standing desk, put a bunch of books underneath your computer. I have like that is a little medical desk that you can buy on Amazon. It's like 40 bucks and it stands up. And you put your laptop on there so you can walk around. But when you stand up, your energy is different. When you're making calls, you need to be quick. You need to be clear minded. You can't be like, "Hey, what's going on? I was just giving you a call to see if you wanted to sell." Dude, I fell asleep already, right? Like your energy needs to be infectious. When I call, I don't even sound the way I sound here. Like I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, David, what's going on? This is John. Listen, I was giving you a quick call about this property over here." Like the energy is different. Even if they're pissed off, just because you sound so upbeat, a lot of times they'll be like, "Oh, well, yeah, no, man, I'm okay," or "Thank you." But the conversation is different and it allows you to ask more questions. So change your state. A quick little thing that I've done is there's this thing. I don't know if I pronounced it right. I got to look for the pronunciation correctly. It's called Qigong. But it's a way of like managing like energy state, and you can do it within 5 minutes, and it just gets you at a peak energy level so you can be more focused. And when you're standing up too, more oxygen is flowing to your brain, which allows you to respond quicker, and you're not doing the because it sounds silly when you do that the whole call. Next is the list is the qualifier. A lot of you get on the call and you're trying to qualify if it even makes sense. To me, I qualify them with the list. That's why we do niche lists, why we stack our list. The list is the qualifier. If I'm calling you, it's because you have multiple pain points that I'm seeing. So I'm not calling to qualify you, I'm calling to close. You understand? I'm calling to get a deal done. That's my mindset. It's not, well, let's see if they're even interested. Because it's like, dude, I've seen your financials. Like, you need to be interested. You understand? Like, you either absentee, code violation, also with some liens on your property, maybe you're tax delinquent, maybe your property's vacant. Like, you have all these other pain points. Like, the list is qualified. My way of approaching it is I'm calling you to get a deal. I'm calling you to close on this. The mindset is going to be very different from that. And then you review your process before you get started. A lot of people don't have a process. You shoot from the hip. We have documented process. You know, how we set up, what questions we're going to ask, and I'll go over some of those now, but like what each one is going to be, what the flow is, what the outcome is. I have an actual process. I do call reviews for my students. And one of the things I realize is when I'm listening to a call, I'm like, your process is not documented. How do I know? Because you're stumbling through the call. When you're stumbling through the call, it comes across. It even comes across to the seller that you don't know what the hell you're doing, right? So it seems very clunky. And when it feels clunky, they don't feel the confidence and the certainty that you're the person they should be working with, right? They want somebody with certainty that can carry across, especially when you're dealing with niche lists with more motivated people, like your probates, your pre-foreclosures, tax delinquents, people that are really struggling. They want somebody with confidence, not somebody that's like kind of stumbling their way through real estate. Then we set up for the call. So here we work on our opener. The opener, your intro, is the only thing that I tell people to have nailed down perfectly. This is something that when you're making calls, if your calls are lasting less than 2 minutes, your opener sucks. People are not connecting with you. It's not creating enough curiosity from the seller, right? If you don't get enough curiosity from the seller, even if they're not interested, it should still last more than 2 minutes. I can speak to somebody that's not interested in selling for 5 to 7 minutes, right? Just to really make sure that they're not interested versus them just trying to get me off the phone, because that happens too. A lot of people get no, I'm not interested, and you take it at face value. It's like, that means nothing to me. You could just be trying to get me off the phone. The intro is going to be where we nail that piece to make sure we keep that curiosity from them. So 3 things I like to make sure I hit is their name, the property address, and the situation, right? So typically, let's say I'm calling David, right? And a guy picks up the phone. I'm assuming it's David. What I'm not doing is saying, hi, is this David? Because David, the first thing he's going to say is like, who's this guy, right? Like, obviously he doesn't know me. But when I'm like, hey, David, what's going on, man? It's John. He's immediately scouring in his head, John, who the hell's this guy, right? I'm already throwing them off with that, which is giving me an advantage to get to the next piece, which is like, listen, man, real quick, I was giving you a call. Has anybody from the county reached out to help you with the foreclosure you got coming up in September 2nd on Cliffside, right? So I hit all the points on that first call. What happens is, if it's not David, he's going to correct me. If he doesn't live on Cliffside, he's going to correct me. But if I ask those questions, it gives the answer of the response that you typically will get is, why do you care? What do you need? What's this about? You understand? So you still don't know if you're talking to the right person with those kinds of responses. So you want to make sure you assume those things are true and let them correct you, because one thing about human nature is we like to correct people when they're wrong. And and this is across the board. An excellent book I always recommend is called Influence by Robert Cialdini. He came out with a revised version, which is like a Bible, and he covers all of these points. To me it's an excellent book. But yeah, nail down your intro, not just the words, but how you're going to deliver it. Some people mumble a lot when they speak. And if you're one of them, I get it, whatever, right? But on your intro, nail it. Articulate, enunciate, pronounce every syllable correctly, especially when it's their name, the address, and the auction or the situation you're calling about, right? So what I don't want to say, it's like, hey, David, this is John. I was calling you about the one property. What? Who? What are you calling about? When you create that level of like confusion, it's actually working against you, because you're pissing them off already. Because it's like, not only am I answering a phone call from somebody I don't know, but I can't even understand what the hell they're saying. So just tonality, right? That's what Jeremy Miner calls it. I didn't know it had a term, but they call it tonality. I don't know if it's his term, but it's just the tempo of your voice. So it's like, hey, David, what's going on, man? This is John. Listen, the reason I was giving you a call was because your house on Cliffside is set to be auctioned off September 2nd. Are you still needing help stopping that foreclosure? Right? So like the key points I'm emphasizing. right? They're always going to stand out. So they don't know what I'm talking about. They're not having to guess. So that's the intro. That's the only part that, again, you practice the hell out of that on a regular basis. I want you to nail that down. Everything after that, you can kind of like deliver it however it needs. But at this point, you have a conversation, you have some interest from the seller. The next thing we want to cover is connection questions. So this is friendly curiosity from you. You don't want to get straight into the motivation, which a lot of people do. And the worst thing yet is get into the property. I don't care what the condition of the home is, because what I'm solving are bigger problems, not the house. I have bought beautiful houses at massive discounts. The house isn't the issue. It's whatever the situation that's causing the problem for them that we need to solve, right? So I want to connect with them first, because if I don't connect with them, they won't open up to me. They won't tell me anything. Whenever you get a seller that's telling you, well, what do you care? What problem is it of yours? What business is it of yours? You know, why does that matter? That's because you haven't connected with them. They don't know, like, or trust you. When they don't have any of those three things, they're not going to answer the deeper questions that's going to take you to why they need to sell. So we want to ask more connection questions. So as soon as they tell me, let's keep going with the foreclosure. As soon as they tell me, no, man, no, nobody's reached out. Oh man, I'm so surprised about that. Obviously, a county doesn't reach out to you about that, right? So like, but it's something that just gets them like, oh no, nobody's reached out about that. Hey, are you guys? So are you needing help stopping that and saving your home? Yeah. Well, let me ask you real quick. Like, what happened? What caused you to fall behind? Oh, I lost my job. Man, I'm so sorry to hear that. And what was it that you used to do? Whatever question I ask, I go deeper on, right? Because where a lot of people screw up is you have your list of questions and you're interrogating the crap out of the seller, right? And that's how it comes off. When was the last time you did this? And when was you did this?
Oh
And when
yeah,
did
and
you
you
do
can't.
that?
There's no room for actual connection
None,
when you're running
none.
through a list of questions.
Connection happens when you allow the other person to talk, right? When you talk, you're not connecting because you're not receiving anything from them. So you don't know if things are landing or if they're liking the conversation.
I took a couple improv comedy classes, and that style of comedy hinges around listening and
Mm.
responding. So if you are sitting there thinking about some clever thing you're going to say, they call that baking a cake. But while you're baking that cake in your brain, you're missing what's actually happening in front of you. And whatever you say, no matter how clever it is, it's not going to land because it doesn't connect with what was just said that you missed because you were thinking about it. So I think it's very applicable here to what John is saying.
100%. And I love that analogy because it's the same thing. Yeah. If they're telling you, I lost my job, and you're like, oh, okay, when was the last time you made a payment? It's like, that's it, right? Like you completely lost the purpose
Oh
of
yeah.
what he just gave you. Now, if they say, I lost my job, oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. And what was it that you used to do? Oh, I used to be a firefighter or whatever. It's like, how long did you do that for? Well, I did it for this many years. Wow, that's incredible. Like, I'm connecting with them on something that it's frankly irrelevant. Like, do I care what they used to do? No. But it's how you connect with people, because at the end of the day, guys, we're all humans. I'm sorry to tell you that. So we like to connect with other humans like that. That's how we speak, how we have conversations. And that's how we do it. We ask connection questions. This phase, I say 5 to 10 minutes. Why I give it a timeline is I had a student submit a call, 45-minute conversation. The whole conversation was connecting. And when it hung up, I was like, what did I just listen to? Like, you got a new best friend? Like, what are we doing? He's like, oh, I don't know. What should I do? I'm like, you don't have anything. You made a really good friend. Good for you. But we're not closing any deals like this. So you gotta keep it short. Once you connect, and the way that I define connection, that you connected with somebody, is when you ask a question and they respond in full sentences. So if I'm asking a seller a question, they're like, yes, no, I don't know. Uh-huh. You're not connected with anybody. When you get to the motivating questions, guess what? They ain't gonna answer them. So what you want to do is you want to get full responses. Well, yeah, I used to do this and I went here and I tried this. When they're opening up like that, that means that they like you to some extent, they trust you to some extent. They're opening up to you. Now we can move to the next phase, which is motivation questions. Motivation questions, what we're determining is pain or pleasure. It's one of the two. They're the two things that move people in either direction, moving away or moving towards, right? It's pain or pleasure. Typically, what I find 9 out of 10 times, it's always pain. Pleasure, very few times. Now, when you're dealing with heirs and stuff like that, a lot of time we do get pleasure because they are getting a large sum of money, and that money could help them do a lot of things, right? So, but when I'm dealing with foreclosures, typically it's pain. They're trying to avoid the credit hit, they're trying to avoid getting kicked out on the street, they're trying to avoid losing the equity. There's some form of pain. Now, where we go beyond that is I hear people all the time. It's like, oh, it's a burned out landlord. I'm like, that means nothing to me. Burned out from what? The tenants. Why? Well, they don't take care of the house. How? They're doing, I don't know exactly. So you don't know what the pain is. We need to dig deeper. The same thing like, oh, I don't want my credit to get destroyed. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. Why don't you want your credit to get destroyed? What's it gonna affect if your credit gets destroyed? Well, I won't be able to get another house. And why does that matter to you? Well, because I want to do this, and why does that matter? Right? When I go deeper, I create such a level of pain that then I can just simply say, like, once I created all this level of pain, I bring it back, and it's like, so how about we solve all of that? How about we avoid you going through all of that pain? Right? The problem is that when you guys are submitting offers, you haven't nailed down this piece yet. So you're submitting an offer and it's like, nah, that's too low. It's not that it's too low, it's that they don't feel like it's going to solve their pain because you didn't articulate their pain and you don't understand their pain clear enough. So that's why your offers are getting rejected. And then lastly is when once we have figured this out, we set the appointment or get the contract. If you're starting off, I recommend appointments. I like working in my own backyard when you're starting off because you got to build the skills of how to talk, analyze deals, negotiate with people. So I like in-person appointments when you're in person with somebody that can't really hang up on you, right? And you can find other areas of connection with them. But when you're getting ready to submit your offer, it's all outcome focused. What I mean by outcome focused offers is a lot of people say, hey, I'll buy this house. Yeah, I'm interested. All this. I'll give you 140 grand, and you lose them. Why do you lose them? Because they don't know what 140 grand means. You understand? They probably thought they needed 200,000 to solve their problem. So you're oceans apart. So the way I submit it is based on the outcome. We established what the pain was. I know very clearly what they're trying to avoid. So it's like, all right, look, here's what we can do, David. What based on you trying to avoid the foreclosure, right? Because like we talked about, it's going to destroy your credit. That's going to stop you from rebuilding. It's going to stop you from getting the next house. It's going to stop you from getting literally everything in this country that requires credit. And you want to tap into that equity you still have in the house. You want to have time to move. We're going to be able to give you a few extra weeks with some money in your pocket so you can move out. And all this plus put an extra $30,000 in your pocket. In order to do that, I need you to sign these documents with me. I'm going to send them over to title so we can stop the foreclosure right away. I'm not asking, do you agree? If I'm asking them, do they agree? What do they assume? Oh, I should probably think about this then. I'm already assuming that they agree because we just established what the pains are, what the motivation is. I already know where you are. I already know that you don't have another option. Why in the hell am I going to ask for your opinion? If I ask for your opinion, immediately you're going to feel like you need to have one. And if you don't have one, what you're going to do is say, well, Jon, I'm going to need to think about it and call you back. Of course you are, because I just told you should probably think about this. So when I submit my offer I'm not asking you what you think. I'm telling you, let's get these documents signed so I can get it over to title so we can stop this foreclosure. Now, if they say, oh, well, I was really hoping to get more. Well, I mean, of course, David, I would love to give you more, but based on the time crunch we have and everything you told me you need, like, this is the best way we can get you there. Because if I have to give you more, the issue is I won't be able to actually get this done.
Do you ever
And if I,
tell them? Do you ever
Mhm.
tell them that you're not their top offer? You ever say I'm not going to be your best price, but I'll provide the speed and convenience that you'll need to get out of this situation. Do you ever actually just say that?
So I do, and the way I kind of say that, what I do instead of like saying, I'm not your best and everything, is like, I'm sorry, I maybe I just misunderstood when you and I first started talking, but I thought your goal was to avoid the foreclosure and be able to do it is. But now you're telling me that it's to get all this extra money that you can hopefully get. I mean, I don't know where, but somewhere, right? Well, like I'm making it, they're thinking like, well, yeah, I don't have any certainty that I can even get that much money. It's like, oh, okay, right. That's what I thought. I mean, if I could, honestly, if I could pay you more, I'd gladly pay you more. It's not about that. It's just that in this situation, to make this work for you in the time crunch that we have, this is the best course of action. Because anything more than this, I can't help you. And if I can't help you with the little bit of time you got, I mean, I would hate to see you lose everything because come, September 3rd, the day after auction, your house sold, you're done. You're legally trespassing on this property. Like the sheriff has the right to come in and kick you out. You are trespassing. This is no longer your home. And I would hate to see that happen to you. I would hate to get that call and we use third party stories a lot. Um, and with the third party stories, one of the things that we use is instead of telling them like this is what you can see, what we tell them is more along the lines of like this is what's happened before, right? So I use the story a lot of like this actually did happen to me. I was helping a lady, she is a mother, single mother of three, getting foreclosed on, and she said we were under contract, everything was good. Then she's like, "Oh, I have an offer for $10,000 more." And I was like, man, and 10,000 made a big difference for her. And I was like, I can't meet that. But yeah, I'll step out the way. You get it done. What happened was the day after auction, she gives me a call crying, saying they backed out at the last minute. What can she do? Can I still buy? I'm like, I'm sorry, but you don't own the house anymore. Like I can't help you at this point, and it broke my heart to say that to her. So from that moment on, like I use that and I tell people, I'm like, I don't want that call from you. I don't want you calling me the day after auction telling me like, hey, John, I wasn't able to get this resolved and now I'm losing my house. What do I do? And my only response to you is going to be like, find somewhere to go because you lost your house. It's a very sad place to be in. And I definitely I don't want to see people go through that as well. So that, to your point, David, like I do use that script a little bit. It's just in a different way.
Thanks for listening to the Deal Machine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.